Well, a question I've heard asked all too often, sadly, goes along these lines, and it comes from Christian parents. Why doesn't the church do more for my children? Also, something I found over the years of my Christian pilgrimage is that families will often leave a good Bible believing church with the lame excuse that there was too little for my children there. And it seems to be that the thinking is deeply embedded in many Christian parents' thinking that it's the church's task to teach our children the things of God. However, what is plain from the Bible is that the true seat of leading and teaching children lies within the family. So really the question is, Mum and Dad, what are you doing for the children that God has so richly blessed you with? And don't palm off onto the church that which is clearly your duty. I wonder, thinking biblically now, I wonder which church Adam and Eve took their sons and daughters to, and they would have had many, many children over those 930 years that Adam was alive. Did they go to East of Eden Evangelical Church? Who was the minister there? Well, you can be sure that Adam was the pastor and Eve was the pastor's wife. Who would Adam blame for Cain's appalling sin of murdering his brother Abel? Perhaps it was the inadequate youth program at the local church. But no, Adam taught his children all about God and the promise of the seed of the woman who would come and crush Satan's head. Who taught Cain and Abel to bring their sacrifices before the Lord, recorded in Genesis chapter 4? It's clear that Abel listened to Adam's teaching about the right sacrifice, whereas Cain did not. How about Abraham, Isaac and Jacob? Which local churches did they attend? Who taught Jacob's 12 sons and his daughter Dinah? In Egypt, which church did Joseph take his boys to? I wonder how it was that Joseph remained faithful to the Lord throughout those very difficult years, the ups and downs that he faced, the trials, the tribulations. Wasn't it the grounding that he got from his father? It certainly wasn't the things he was taught in Sunday school and the youth program at Cana Covenant Church. No, it was from Jacob that Joseph learnt these things. And the family has always been God's chosen primary means for bringing children to a knowledge of himself. What children do with that knowledge is their responsibility. Jacob, it seems, listened to his dad whilst Esau didn't. Both had the same opportunities. Whose fault was it that Esau became a godless oaf? None but his own. As God revealed his word through the inspired Bible writers, this great principle is made pretty clear, very clear, that it's the fathers who teach the children and the mothers who teach the children. Think of the Exodus and that night of the Passover. It was families and it was fathers who took a lamb. Moses gave the instructions, fathers, choose a lamb, prepare it for your household. And then later on, after the Passover, when your children ask you, what does this lamb mean? What does the blood mean? You tell them the mighty things that God did. And later on in the desert of Sinai, those wonderful words in Deuteronomy chapter 6 and the first 6 verses, and particularly, verse 7, speak with your children. Moses again teaching the fathers, speak with your children. When you're sat in the house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise. It's very interesting. It seems that teaching children the things of God ought to be a very natural thing. When you're sat in the house, when you're walking on the way, when you sit down and when you rise, when you lie down, when you get up again, teaching the children in a natural way. There is a place for systematic, ordered teaching, but it ought to be something very natural, fathers teaching the children I think about taking a youngster out for a walk. 3 lads, I took them out for a walk recently, and one was very anxious about the dogs that were passing by. Why are you scared of the dogs? Oh, I don't like them. Well, listen, who is it that looks after you, mum and dad? Who else looks after you? I'm not sure. God looks after you. And pointing a little child, a lad scared of dogs, to the one who's always with him. Those natural opportunities to share the things of God. The principle in Psalm 78, the first 7 verses, read them, wonderfully laid down. The fathers telling the children of the glorious deeds of the Lord and the mighty wonders that he has done. If you're a father in a household, then you are the pastor. Yours is that God-given place to teach your children the wonders of our God and the glories of his grace. Now, David, we learned, blessed his people and then returned to his home to bless his family. Job prayed for his children every day and offered sacrifices for them. Cornelius, remember in Acts, gathering the whole household together to hear what the Apostle Peter had to say. Let me just cover this. Perhaps you're a single mum, or your husband as a mother, your husband doesn't yet believe. Then it's your place, mums, to take that responsibility. It seems that Timothy didn't have a believing father, but he had Eunice, his mother, and Lois, his grandmother, and they were godly women. And they taught Timothy the scriptures from a child. And it was those very scriptures that made Timothy wise to salvation. Here then is the biblical principle. Parents, take it seriously. The church can help. The church can supplement. But it's your place to teach your children. And fathers and mums, when you hear things in the church, then it's up to you to take that truth and break it down for the children that God has given to you. Could I commend to you a very helpful course that's been produced by a group in America called Media Gracia? It's called A Guide to Family Worship, and it's produced by Ryan Bush. It's an 8-part video series with an excellent accompanying workbook giving very practical help and advice in this vital area of family worship.